Hello everyone, this is my first video on the channel. Here I'm going to show this rocket that can send 900 tons of payload to orbit, or 900.15. This is partly in response to a post made by Flea Flicker on the forums on the challenge of sending the highest payload to orbit. In this rocket, no matter which way I designed it, it was practically impossible to send just fuel to orbit, so I had to use the densest parts that I could fit in a specific way that prevents the payload from permanently sticking to the first stage. I used docking ports, RTGs and ion engines, the last of two, which were very important for the last and most tedious part of the orbit. I used a mix of more Frontier and some Titan engines as opposed to mostly or only Titan engines, because Frontiers are way more efficient, but I still need some extra thrust to fight gravity and save me some delta V, so I use some Titan engines. I'm able to make the payload higher and send it to orbit, but 900 tons is already impressive enough, so I'm not exactly one for making insignificant increases to a disorganized payload. Turn off the Titan engines one by one as my velocity increases to save delta V, as this means the fuel is used up by a higher percentage of the Frontier engines by the end. Once I reach a speed that's just below the orbital velocity at 200 meters, which is 1756 meters per second, I turn off all the engines and finish my orbit with ion engines. And since there's 8 RTGs, I have just enough electricity being generated to power these at full thrust, which is better than my previous prototypes, in which I was able to only use 50% thrust and only one ion engine. Now here, what I didn't know earlier was that I was indeed able to switch between rockets without re-enabling aerodynamics, which was something I could have saved me several hours of failed mission, but let's not talk about that now. And look here, I was passing over some failed attempts on my rockets. The previous debris that you were able to see, I didn't actually zoom in on it beforehand, but you will see it in the future. As you see here, because of my ignorance, I had to speed up the video by 25 times, and in the future we'll also be able to see that. And here is the first debris of the failed rocket. And you can also see the launch pad here, passing right over it. I didn't actually see it when I was passing over. It's pretty cool rewatching the video and actually seeing the launch pad. And of course we have a very safe altitude for an orbit. And again, 25 times speed. I think this was 30 times actually. Reached a height of 83 meters, which is 82 actually, 82.6, which is not a safe altitude at all. And here however, I finally realized that after testing it on my phone, I was just able to just switch between craft and time warp to the next burn. And here I went to take a bite to eat and left the recording on for 34 minutes. So you just see footage of me doing more than 2 full orbits of the Earth, sped up by 100 times, which was actually the maximum I could even put it on. But it looks pretty cool. I could actually do something like this in the future, if I ever plan on making more videos. Once the apoapsis was at 30.4 kilometers, I once again switched crabs and time warped, and this time I was actually able to make saves, so I did a test to see how much delta V I had left when using the Frontier engines, and it's not recorded here, and I was 7 meters per second away from finishing a full orbit with the Frontiers, so using them I finished as much of the orbit as I could, leaving 4 meters per second of Frontier engine burning, which translates to around 16 meters per second of ion engine burning, which would then be more than enough to finish the entire orbit. And this time, this is so I could save time and not have to suffer the entire time. I don't even care. I'm not deleting this part. This also means I could probably add more payload in very specific ways to the rocket, which, like I said, I'm not prepared to do. 900 tons is enough. And awkward silence. And here I detach all of the docking ports. I couldn't have been able to do that beforehand because that re-enables some of the aerodynamics. And finally, after one mistake, 900.15 tons in orbit, no cheats, one blueprint, no blueprint editing, some glitches, aerodynamic glitch. And here I just show you that this payload really does weigh 900.15 tons. This game doesn't show 2 decimal places and rounds it up in unpredictable ways, but as you'll see in a few moments, 899.9 plus 0.25 is 900.15. There. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Bye.